Today I want to take a look at SharePoint Online and intelligent version history. So here we have a new feature for the automatic version history limit. And this is an intelligent algorithm to store versions based on creation date. This is kind of a newer feature recommended by Microsoft. Not a lot of people know about. It is in the Admin Center on the Settings menu under Version History Limit. And the short of it is you keep some of the versions, not all of them. For example, maybe one version every month, one version every week, and then one version every day, and then all of the most recent for today's date. But kind of a progressive or a spread out schedule. If you have a document that's actively edited, maybe even automatically modified, like a programming script or something that's writing constantly, it's entirely possible to end up with thousands of version history and a high amount of storage consumed that no one needs. There's no audience. There's no one reading. It's unnecessary. And the question becomes, how much of the version history do we actually need instead of turning on keep everything forever? Most business requirements don't really call for that. It's simply that's the setting that we're used to when we turn on version history. So I think this is something more worth exploring, learning about. If you turn it on at the tenant level, it will affect your new site collections. To go back in time and retroactively apply it to existing ones can be done with PowerShell. And we'll take a look at both of those, turning it on for a new site as well as turning it on for existing. So if we're looking at our tenant and we want to learn a little bit more about the feature, let me open up one of the great blog posts on this particular subject and talking about the time span and how the spacing out of version history will work. To enable it on your tenant, you can do it with either PowerShell or the GUI. We were just showing the GUI. And then here is the cleanup job. Yes, automating version cleanup. If older files require manual intervention, that's right. PowerShell allows us to process that. Identify, correct, set SPO site, enable auto version expiration true. So this is our setting to retroactively apply it to sites from the past. And this is a little bit more advanced version where we come through and enable version expiration on the tenant. Yes. Yeah, and here we can even put in the thresholds. New SPO site version batch delete job. There's your command lit for doing this retroactively to apply to existing sites. The script connects your tenant, retrieves all site collections, set the retention date, creates a batch job, and any error handling. Really defining the policy is going to be the most important concept when it comes to this particular feature. So if you look at what the feature can do, let's just talk about it, the spacing and how this would work on a timeline. Automatic version thinning, which gradually trims older versions while preserving timestamps. The first 30 days, we're holding everything. That's a 100% keep. Okay. The hourly or daily versions are stored. So, okay, 30 to 180 days, maybe you're down to one per day. And then beyond 180, you're looking at weekly versions. So the interval becomes spaced out. And this is absolutely true. The savings of storage, it could well be that half of your tenant is being consumed with version history. And so if you're up against storage limits, if you're purchasing additional storage, definitely recommend to look at turning the setting on with some common sense parameters. If you're going to go with the default, keep everything for 30 days, dailies beyond 30, and weeklies beyond 180. I mean, 180 days, that's 6 months, that's half a year. So I think this is a reasonable approach, something to consider and see what it can do with helping you. There's going to be communications, letting people know about the feature, definitely getting the word out to site owners. But if you think about a timeline and you take those first 60 days and then the maybe 30 to 180. So we're going to hold all versions on these most recent 30 days on a timeline. And assuming that today was on the far right edge. But then beyond that, we're only going to hold dailies. So one per day version history on the range of 31 to 180 days. These would be the daily copy. So that'll give you granularity for recovery. Give me a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday restore, but it's not going to cover multiple repetitions within a given day. And then beyond the 180, these are going to be weeklies. So the spacing out interval becomes wider, right? Like you might have just that one copy, week 10 of the year, week 11, week 12 of the year, and so forth. That's how it's going to look if you were to draw out a timeline. And the idea is that the further back in time, the less valuable that version history is. Maybe people need it, but not quite as fine-tuned. For turning on the feature, we'll go ahead and set it here to automatic and save and confirm. And it does give you a pop-up message. The limit will apply to all new document libraries in SharePoint and all new OneDrive accounts after you confirm this change. So this is a go forward change for all new document libraries. And that document library granularity, that helps us because even on our existing sites, new libraries that are created will be in this cleaned format. Now, if you want to go back and apply it retroactively to sites you already have, that's where the PowerShell script will come in, something that you want to take a look at. Automating the cleanup. Yes, this would have a simple threshold of really removing anything older than 365 days. So this was the intelligent versioning. This is what we already saw. This is the part that I just enabled so that we could say that that part's active. But then if you want to go through and loop all your sites and make sure that it's affecting, we want to execute this PowerShell, and this will require the SPO commandlets. Not too sure if this is covered by PMP. That's a really good question. Let's see if we can find any PMP coverage for the same idea. Available in the current nightly release only. So this is sort of a newer feature that SPO brought forward. It does have PMP support. It's going to be a little bit more focused to the nightly release version of PMP. Interesting. So getting into the PMP commands a little bit more, just in case you don't have SPO commands or would prefer to use PMP, they do have the commandlets around the file version batch support, which are what you're going to need to operate with this particular feature. Looking at PMP's project overall, this is the one that's going to have the automatic version support. It's the nightly release. You can see the numbers 31173, whereas this is a 310. So the nightly is essentially collecting some of those more advanced features that not everyone is going to have. And if we come over, and of course this is going to be with PowerShell 7. So if we wanted to take a look at commands and see what's available, I'm currently running the 310. And if I were to take a look at any PMP commands that have to do with versioning, it's a little bit here, version batch, delete job, version batch. Yeah, well, there's a little bit more in the 310 than expected. Version job, site version. Yep, site file version, batch delete job. Okay. All right, so the documentation says nightly only, but I am seeing it in 310 release. So these commands about the report and the job, they appear to be delete job. Okay, but not the report. Yeah, so this one is here, but not the other based on the report, actually. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So we have some limited support in the main release. But if you want to bring in the nightly release, you can do that. You simply need to say required version and put in the 31173 nightly. And what we can tell is it is popular. I mean, 2.9 million on the main release right here. But we do have a few people experimenting working with the nightly. Just that's how you can load the nightly release if you wanted SPO support. You can also do that with the SPO command. So coming back to the article, this is what we would execute to remove files with older versions beyond 365, just clearing things out from that. That is a hard stop. We also can do the automatic, and we have additional inputs for the number of days to keep file versions, number of versions to keep, prompt for additional info based on the delete mode. Yep, do you want to delete based on versions, or are you going to delete based on number of days to keep? So, major versions to keep, days before deleting. Yeah, these are the kind of the cleanup parameters that you're going to be looking at, reaching back in time to existing data. So based on either the maximum number of days, or that would be the delete before days, or the maximum number of versions. Those are two different modes we have available for cleanup. So I'll share this article with its PowerShell code. Wanted to bring forward the idea of turning this on at the tenant level, but then also coming and looping through your site collections to apply it retroactively. And this will help with kind of cleaning things up, looking at your existing data, not just the ones going forward with new libraries and new sites. So again, great feature to take a look at, especially if you're low on storage. Thanks for watching.